Welcome to the 19th Annual People's Choice Podcast Awards Ceremony, live from the New Media Production Studio here in Quincy, Michigan. First and foremost, happy International Podcast Day, everyone. As a way of introduction, I'm Todd Cochran, founder of the Podcast Awards, and as we honor the very best in podcasting tonight, we're here to celebrate the talent, creativity, and connection that podcasters around the globe bring to their listeners daily. Podcasting stands apart because it thrives on an open standard, free from gatekeepers, where every voice can find its audience. This openness ensures that creators, regardless of their background or resources, have the freedom to share their stories, ideas, and passion with the world. What makes podcasting truly special is the personal connection it fosters. Listener invite podcasters into their lives like a trusted friend or companion who's always there, whether in a commute, a walk, or while unwinding at home. It's this intimate, on-demand relationship that makes podcast content feel so unique and accessible and powerful. As a podcaster myself, October 9th will mark 20 years of podcasting for me. I can attest the connections I've made with my audience for the past 20 years, with 2,600 episodes and 1,700 interviews, and still going strong. Our future is bright as original content will become more important over the coming years as AI-generated content floods the internet, and we will all seek to connect with people we love and trust. I've been proud to have been inducted in the Podcast Hall of Fame, and I'm just as passionate today as I was in 2004. I hope you will join me at PodFest this coming January, where we will induct 10 new podcasters into the Hall of Fame. I host 3 podcasts today myself. The Geek News Central is my flagship podcast, launched in October 2004, with nearly 1,800 episodes, twice weekly, covering all things tech. I also do the New Media Show. It's a podcast where you get a PhD in podcasting. I co-host that with Mr. Rob Greenlee, and we've just hit 600 episodes at newmediashow.com. And of course, Podcast Insider, this dedicated insights that we have at Blueberry Podcasting, and it's our corporate show. As the founder of Blueberry Podcasting, we've had a game-changing year. We've focused on AI, so you don't have to rely on third-party tools. Plus, our Vid2Pod service lets video-first podcasters automatically create a podcast from their YouTube content, along with adding revolutionary metrics to our stats. This is an excellent home for those of you using Chartable by Spotify, which is closing soon. You can guarantee listener privacy with Blueberry Stats. Tonight's show will be available as a podcast shortly after this live broadcast. Stay tuned. We're also proud to support Podcasting 2.0 with nearly 30 new features rolling out, and Apple recently adopting the Podcasting 2.0 transcript feature. I want to give a shout out to all the amazing podcast hosts like Buzzsprout, Transistor, RSS.com, Captivate, and others that have joined us in keeping podcasting open and free of gatekeepers. I encourage you to try a Podcasting 2.0 enabled app at podcastapps.com. And if you want to find out more about Podcasting 2.0, go to podcastindex.org. Don't wait. Encourage your favorite podcaster to hop on the Podcasting 2.0 bandwagon, and all while you're at it, check out the Podcast Standards Project at podstandards.org. The Podcast Awards began in 2005 to give podcasting listeners around the world the chance to nominate and vote for their favorite shows. To this day, no other awards allow the audience to have the power to pick the winners from start to finish. Make sure to join our mailing list to stay up to date on announcements for the 2025 awards. Find that sign up at podcastawards.com. Of course, a big thank you to all the shows that participated, to the Podcast Awards Committee, our amazing voters, 5.1 million of you, and the handpicked luminaries who make this event possible. Of course, a special shout out to our tech partner, One Technologies. And of course, again, thank you to all the listeners that participated and made this possible. Now, let me give it up for our incredible sponsors who make this night possible. First of all, Chasing the Whimsy podcast. Bedtime stories for insomniacs. Shit that goes on in our heads. Grits with a side of murder. The Glitterjaw Queer Podcasting Collective. Dualicity Unity. It's life-changing. Playpodcast.net. Let's Get Haunted. I want to thank our media partners. A special thanks to Pod News, podnews.net. Make sure you get signed up and subscribe to the newsletter. James does a great job keeping you informed of what's going on in the podcasting space. And the New Media Show. Thank you for partnering with us. And of course, our official podcast host, proudly powered by Blueberry Podcasting at blueberry.com. And as a founder of the Podcast Awards, be sure to check out my show at Geek News Central. We're here to honor excellence. Again, this year, we're going to honor podcasters in 30 categories. Be sure to check out the legacy shows who've all won a single category at least 5 times and are no longer eligible to participate in the Podcast Awards. That list is available on the website. And during the nomination process and during podcaster registration, those of you were able to handwrite in which podcaster had the most significant influence on you over the past year. Today, I'm proud to announce the top 5 influencers for each category. Listeners, the listener influencers of the year include Adam Curry, host of No Agenda and Curry and the Keeper and the Podcast 2.0 show. Harlan Guthrie, Mal Ovent, Ask Me Anything. Kelly Jennings, host of Unspeakable. Kale Laurie, Baby Mama's No Drama. And Megan Sorrell, Work and Life Harmony podcast. Our podcast influencers of the year, a 2-time winner here, Adam Curry, host of No Agenda and Curry and the Keeper and the Podcasting 2.0 show. Johans LaCour, host of You Didn't See Nothing. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Wiser Than Me. Mel Robbins, the Mel Robbins podcast. And Joe Rogan from the Joe Rogan Experience. Congratulations to our influencers. Those are purely write-ins by you. Many of those shows did not participate in the Podcast Awards, but they're being honored regardless because you said they influenced you. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's announce the People's Choice Podcast Award winners, and we'll start at the top. In the arts category, the nominees are Comic Book Club News, Didn't I Just Feed You? Over Coffee, Sylvia and Me, The Adult Ballet Studio, The Friends in Fiction Podcast, The Mayman Show, The Walk-In Talk Podcast, Was It Chance, Writers and Illustrators of the Future Podcast, and the winner of the arts category, Comic Book Club News. Congratulations.
Our top story today, Comic Book Club News wins Podcast Awards in the Arts category. The comic book news show hosted by Alex Zalbin, who is me, has released episodes every Monday through Friday, 5 days a week for well over 275 episodes now. We, by which I mean me, would like to thank the listeners, our supporters on Patreon, everyone who voted at the Podcast Awards, and most of all, the comic book industry for having just enough news to make a daily news podcast worthwhile. Comic Book Club News. You hear it first. Or second. Maybe third. Anyway, you hear it. Thanks again, Podcast Awards.
In the Manager Tools Business category, the nominees are Badass Direct Sales Mastery, Disrupt Yourself, Extraordinary Women Radio, How I Built My Small Business, Launch Your Box Podcast, Revenue Builders Podcast, The White Coat Investor Podcast, The Toma Bravo Behind the Deal, Women in Podcasting Show, and yes, we are open. And the winner, Women in Podcasting Show. Congratulations.
Oh, wow. The Women in Podcasting Show won in the business category. This is incredible. What an honor. Thank you so much. You know, my mission is to elevate women's voices globally and throughout the podcasting industry. And so this award is going to help further that passion. Thank you to Todd Cochran and all of the People's Choice Podcast Awards team. Thank you for everything you do. And thank you to everyone who voted for me. And thank you to the amazing Women in Podcasting Network community. And I just appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much.
In the comedy category, the nominees are For Beersen, and That's Why We Drink, Chasing the Whimsy, Dating Games, the Modern Relationship Podcast, Flash Comedy Show, Grits with a Side of Murder, Jordino's Talk Time, Let's Get Haunted, The Bubba Dub Show, and the unofficial official story. And the winner in the comedy category is And That's Why We Drink. Congratulations.
I'm done telling jokes because we've made it. We've peaked. We won the People's Choice Comedy Award. I'm never going to be funny again.
I have no reason to say anything ever again. We've already done it. So thank you so much. I'm so glad we've said our final jokes ever. You've nailed it. Thank you for this lovely award. I will show it to all of my family to prove to them that I am actually funny. And that's probably as far as it'll go. But I love it anyway.
Yes, we are so validated by this win. So thank you very much. You are just the light in our lives, all of our listeners. We love you so much. Thanks for voting for us. And we'll see you on the podcast.
In the Grammar Girl Education category, the nominees are Based on a True Story, Beyond the Thesis with Papa 8 PhD, Getting Lit with Linda, High Desert Sobriety, How to Do the Pot, I Don't Need an Acting Class, Nerd Word, Woman Road Warriors, Work-Life Harmony for Overwhelmed Women, Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast. And the winner in the Grammar Girl Education category goes to Women Road Warriors. Congratulations.
This is Shelley.
And this is Kathy.
We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for this People's Choice Podcast Award. We are over the moon.
Unbelievably shocked and delighted about this. Oh my gosh.
This is terrific. I can't thank you enough. I mean, you have no idea how much this means to us. I know that we're gushing here, but this is exciting. We could not do this without the support of our listeners. Thank you.
Yes, thanks to the listeners, to the followers, to all those who've been supporting us since we started this incredible journey that we've been on, right, Shelley?
Oh, man, it's been a journey. We're the Women Road Warriors. It's all about powering women on the road to success. And this is all part of it. And obviously, the listeners love us. This is terrific. Thank you for your support.
In the Rob Has a Podcast Entertainment category, the nominees are Baby Mama's No Drama, Baby, This is KK Palmer, Club Shay Shay, Gold Mines with Kevin Hart, Grits with a Side of Murder, Orlando Talk Show, Let's Get Haunted, Oprah's Super Soul, Questlove Supreme, and Quills and Chills. And the winner in the Rob Has a Podcast Entertainment category goes to Baby Mamas, No Drama. Congratulations.
When B and I first started our podcast adventure, we really wanted to just share our co-parenting experiences, and that has evolved into so much more.
Week in and week out, we're here to entertain and inspire, and we wouldn't be able to do that without you all.
As we accept this entertainment award, we are so thankful to be accomplishing this goal. We are so thankful for every single one of you guys who have voted for Baby Mama's No Drama.
Without our audience, this just would not be possible. So
thank you so much for your vote and all of your support.
In the next category, the fiction category, the nominees are Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs, Dark Pony Radio, Dice Club, Journey to the Heart, Makeshift Stories, Malevolent, Skylar and Bones, Funny Stories for Kids, Table Read Podcast, The Hacker Chronicles, and Tower 4. And the winner in the fiction category goes to Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone at the Podcast Awards, the listeners, the judges,
for selecting Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs as the best fiction podcast for the second year in a row. Considering the amazing podcasts I was up against, that makes it all the more special. Thank you also to my faithful listeners who helped me get nominated again. I'm just glad you like my stories. I hope I'll be bringing them to you for a long time to come. But I need to extend a special thank you this year to the guest authors who have allowed me to bring their stories to life. Barbara Avon, Jody J. Sperling, and especially my brother, James Hosek. You guys are the best. As a special thank you to all my subscribers and anyone else who enjoys an entertaining audio presentation, and I think I'm in the right place for that, I'm going to be giving away free audiobook copies of the first anthology of stories from the podcast, The Charlatan's Conundrum and Other Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs. Just head on over to my website, bedtimestories.studio, or sign up at my Substack, richhosek.substack.com, and I'll gift you a copy. This one's for you, Jim. I miss you every day.
Our next category is Games and Hobbies. The nominees are Two Nerds in a Pod, a video game podcast, Backwater Bastards, DND 404, Mass Debaters, Tabletop Clown Society, the Adventure Games Podcast, The Apocalypse Players, The Art of Hobbiness, and What's Good Games, a video game podcast, and Wild Ideas Worth Living. And the winner in the Games and Hobby category goes to Two Nerds in a Pod, a video game podcast. Congratulations.
Wow, Mac, it's 2024, and we have won the Games and Hobbies Podcast Award for the fourth time in a row. How do you feel, my friend?
Elated, my dude. It is a delight to be here. Thrilled. We're honored to be here. And while we've got a second, just want to say that even though we've seen many great games this year, in video games just generally, there have been lots of layoffs, and we want to encourage any of you who love video games, show love for your favorite games by supporting those developers as you can. Buy their games, send them love, positive messages, just like you've sent love to us here by bringing an award to us.
Especially those indies. Absolutely. Thank you so much for continuing to listen and supporting our little podcast that started in a basement several years ago. Video games are art. Be excellent to each other.
And keep it nerdy, y'all.
Keep it nerdy, y'all.
Bye.
Deuces.
Our next category is Government and Organizations. The nominees are Canceled for Maintenance, Inside the FBI, Mississippi Outdoors, On the Evidence, On the Patio, One CA Podcast, Tango Alpha Lima, The Damage Report, The Mayman Show, and VHA Homeless Programs, Ending Veterans Homelessness. And the winner in Government and Organization goes to Inside the FBI. Congratulations.
Hi, everyone. I am honored to accept this award on behalf of the Inside the FBI podcast team. First and foremost, thank you to all the voters and listeners for choosing us as the best government organization podcast series at this year's People's Choice Podcast Awards. We couldn't be more thrilled with the recognition. I want to take a moment to thank and recognize all the guests we've had on our episodes over the years. It's through your expertise and your help that we have been able to share important and timely information with the public and tell a little bit more of the FBI story. I also, of course, have to thank our incredible podcast team. This show wouldn't be possible without the work of many, many people, so thank you. I'm so proud of how far we've come over the last few years and how much work we've put into this show, and I can't wait to see what we do in the future. So again, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for voting for Inside the FBI.
Our next category is the health category. And our our nominees are Beneath Your Beautiful, Cutting Edge Health, Preventing Cognitive Decline, Dopey, on the dark comedy of drug addiction, Grow or Die podcast, Humans in Public Health. It Happened to Me. Mental, the podcast to destigmatize mental health. Sex and Psychology podcast. Shit that goes on in our heads. And these Fucking Feelings podcast. And our winners in the health category go to Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. Congratulations.
Wow. Thank you so much for this award. This podcast was born out of a really dark space. And today we are celebrating this huge accomplishment and win. And I couldn't do this without my partner, Dirty Skittles.
Aw, thanks, man. Yeah, I am so honored to be alongside you on your journey. I think this podcast, originally started off as just kind of two friends shooting the shit, letting off steam. And just to know that people care about what we have to say and enjoy it as much as we do means a lot.
Yeah, our mission is truly to normalize the way we talk about mental health. And I just have a huge shout out to my family, our families, our friends, our listeners, and especially our guests. We couldn't do this without you.
We definitely couldn't do this without you and our listeners.
So keep listening, and thank you again for this award. It means the world to us.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Next up is the history category. You guys keep me jumping on some of your podcast names. The nominees are 6 Degrees of Cats, Archaeo Ed podcast, based on a true story, Ill-Equipped History, Lions Led by Donkeys podcast, Monumental, Plotting Through the Presidents, Sacred Scandal, Nation of Saints, The Nightingale of Iran, The Plus Side, Cracking the Obesity Code. And the winner in the history category goes to Lions Led by Donkeys podcast. Congratulations.
Hey everybody, I'm Joe. I'm one of the hosts of the Lions Led by Donkeys podcast and its main writer. I would just like to thank everybody. I kind of thought it was crazy that we were even nominated or shortlisted to be the best history podcast, and it's kind of unbelievable that we won. So I'd just like to thank all of our supporters and voters. We're a completely independent show, so they make everything we do possible to include this. So thank you very much. It's a huge honor.
Next up is Kids and Family. Our nominees are Chasing the Whimsy, Culture Kids Podcast, Didn't I Just Feed You? Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls, Kids Book Review Podcast for Kids by Kids, Little Kids, Big Hearts, Money Boss, Parent Podcast, Mums, Work, and Chaos, Parenting and You with Dr. Chaffel, Should Have Listened to My Mother. And the winner in the Kids and Family category goes to Didn't I Just Feed You? Congratulations.
Megan, I have big news. We won! Didn't I Just Feed You is the 19th annual People's Choice Podcast Awards winner in Kids and Family. It is! We won!
Listen, y'all, we love winning. After all, you're looking at two people who gave themselves a podcast. But in all seriousness, this means more than you know, and not just because it's a trophy.
Anyone who's listened to Didn't I Just Feed You knows that our one and only mission is to help make the relentless task of feeding a family easier for busy home cooks.
We're longtime food professionals who, between us, have worked on countless TV food shows and cookbooks, have written endless articles for the most read food publications, and developed thousands of recipes that have made it into kitchens around the world. But before all that, we're busy working moms who want to support other working moms.
So thank you so much for recognizing our hard work. We hope that we make cooking for families a little more fun, or at least a little easier, and that you have fun listening to us. Thank you.
Next up is the leisure category, and the nominees are Canceled for Maintenance, Crafty Brewers, Tales Behind Craft Beer, Disrupt Yourself, Dualistic Unity, Fabulous Over 50, Retro Trek with the Caramel Apples, Rough Talk VR, Sylvia and Me, The Wonderful World of Wine, WWW, Wild Ideas Worth Living. And the winner in the leisure category goes to Canceled for Maintenance. Congratulations.
This is an incredible honor to be here receiving an award for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. On everyone, on behalf of the Cancel for Maintenance podcast, this recognition means the absolute world for us, and we couldn't have done it without the support and encouragement of so many amazing people.
Namely, our family for supporting us and affording us the time to be able to create content for you.
We also want to express our sincere thanks to the organizations and fellow content creators who partner with us. Your collaboration has enriched our content and brought invaluable insights to our listeners. We are immensely grateful for your trust and your support.
Also want to give a big shout out to the aircraft maintenance community. Without you all doing what you're doing and helping us provide the content we can for you to give you guys a good product and a bit of relief in your day.
And the special mention must go out to Shoreline. He is the heart and soul of our production efforts. Shoreline has been instrumental in guiding our vision and ensuring every episode resonates with our audience. His dedication and hard work behind the scenes have not gone unnoticed, and we will appreciate everything that he does for us. We look forward to having you back in the forefront with us soon, Shoreline. And lastly, this goes to all our listeners and patrons out there. Thank you again so much, everyone, for all of your support.
Next up is Feast of Fools Fun LGBTQ category. Our nominees are A Jaded Gay, An Older Gay Guy Show, Gayish, Loose Lips, Now, No Opportunity Wasted, The Business Gay, The Queer Family Podcast, and Thick Radio. And the winner of the LGBTQ category goes to the Queer Family Podcast. Congratulations.
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? Oh my God. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Podcast Awards. Thank you to the listeners. Thank you to all of you. Thank you. Wow, I would have never thought. I really wouldn't have. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who helps me highlight, uplift, celebrate, and normalize LGBTQ families and all of our beautiful identities. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
Next up is the Coverville Pod Safe Music category. The nominees are Catch a Vibe with Big Haas, Industrial Interviews by Seattle House Mafia, No Good Music, Lifetimes of Listening, Music Rewind Podcast, One Song, R&B and Chill, The Best Song Podcast, The Nightingale of Iran, and What Difference Does It Make? And the winner of the music category goes to The Nightingale of Iran. Congratulations.
Yay! I'm Danielle Dardashti. Thank you so much for this award as Best Music Podcast.
I'm Galit Dardashti, and we are the creators of The Nightingale of Iran, a podcast which tells our family story.
And we just want to say thank you to all of our amazing listeners, friends, and family in 160 countries around the world.
And if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, please check out the podcast at nightingaleofiran.com.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Next up is the Majority Report Politics and News category. The nominees are Chip Chat, Good Citizen with Ted Roosevelt V, News on the Side, Outside Counsel S1, Unpacking the Opioid Epidemic, Politics in a Movie, Shadow Politics with U.S. Senator Michael D. Brown, The Mayman Show, The Weekly Show with Jon Stewart, The Young Turks, and Vibes Only. And the winner of the Politics and News category goes to Vibes Only. Congratulations.
Well, it was an honor just to be nominated, but we are absolutely thrilled to accept this podcast award in the news and politics category.
Absolutely. We know that the news cycle, especially in politics, can be completely overwhelming. So we are so grateful that you...
A Mystic and a Feminist. Bible in a Year with Jack Graham. Coffee with Father Don. Daily Bread Today podcast. For Heaven's Sake. Grief and Rebirth, Finding the Joy in Life, Mediation Conversation, Paranormal Almanac, and the Catholic Accent Podcast. And the winner in the Religion and Spirituality category goes to A Witch, a Mystic, and a Feminist.
Hey everybody, this is Marlena with A Witch, a Mystic, and a Feminist, winning this award for this and make this journey so fulfilling. So thank you for your unwavering support in making all of this possible once again.
Next up is the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, Science and Medicine category. The nominees are A Dash of Science, ADHD Mums, Best Medicine, DNA Today, The Dr. Denise Show, The Genetics Podcast, The Immunology Podcast, The Stem Cell Podcast, Tiny Expeditions, and Your Complex Brain. And the winner in the Science and Medicine category goes to ADHD Mums. Congratulations.
Oh my God, did I win? Thank you so much for voting, first of all. I'm so proud of ADHD Mums and what we've achieved and how many women we have helped get diagnosed, medicated, and get help and shine some light on the issues that mums face in this world. And I'm so grateful and so happy to have even been nominated, let alone won. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you, of course, to my beautiful husband, who is my rock to my ADHD brain, and for all of the support that he and the community has given me. I can't thank you enough, and I'm really touched. Thank you so much.
Next up, the Society and Culture category. The nominees are Baby Mama's No Drama, Diary of a Bald Man, Dualistic Unity, Floaties for the Krakens, Grits with a Side of Murder, Ideas of Order, Let's Get Haunted, Oprah's Super Soul, Should Have Listened to My Mother, You're Pretty Also. And the winner in the Society and Culture category goes to I Should Have Listened to My Mother. Congratulations.
Wow, Society and Culture category. Yay! Should have listened to my mother. So happy to receive this award. Thank you so much. Thank you to my team, to my family, to my listeners, of course, and of course my guests from around the world. You know, we have this common thread of talking about our moms. Are you who you are today because of or in spite of your mom? It's pretty magical, and to be honored in this way is just fantastic. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. We all put a lot of work in, so this is really an honor. Thank you so much.
In the ESPN Fantasy Focus Football Sports category, the nominees are 30 for 30 Podcast, Searching for Hobie Baker, Around the NFL, Champagne Football Show, Command Center Podcast, Cover 3 College Football, Fantasy Football Today, Nightcap, No Place I'd Rather Be, Numbers on the Board, and Two Brothers and Their Sport Podcast. And the winner of the sports category goes to Fantasy Football Today. Congratulations.
What's up, FFT? We did it. We won Podcast Awards. Yes. Finally, we've been chasing this one. So this really is a great feeling, and I'm so thankful for everybody who went out and nominated us. I know we pester you every year. Please nominate us, but you did it. You got us to that next phase. And for all the people who voted for us, I'm glad you enjoyed the show. We worked really hard on it, and winning an award like this really does mean a lot because it's not just the popularity contest. You know, there's a panel. They got to like your show, and you have to do really good work. Podcast Awards is great, and every year we try to win this thing. I'm glad that we finally did. So thanks to everybody at Podcast Awards, and of course, thanks to all of our amazing FFT listeners and viewers. Let's go for a repeat next.
In the Storyteller Drama category, the nominees are 100 Lives I've Lived, Exposed, Scandalous Files of the Elite, Let's Get Haunted, Makeshift Stories, One More Turn, Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf, Run Fool, Tragedy with a View, What's Ray Saying, Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast. And the winner in the Storyteller Drama category goes to Let's Get Haunted. Congratulations.
Hello, everyone. I am Nat, and this is Allie of Let's Get Haunted podcast. We are so grateful to be winning the award for Storyteller Drama the second year in a row. We put a lot of effort into researching, writing, and recording our episodes and making the information interesting to listen to. We really try to inject tea into all of our stories. We want to make history fun. We want to make learning fun. We're trying to educate people on all of the things that happen that you didn't learn about in school. Part of that is getting people to remember and care about what we're saying. And so injecting humanity into these stories is something that we're really proud of, and we are just so grateful.
And just thank you so much to the Podcast Awards, first and foremost, for even making this possible. Thank you so much to everyone who voted. Thank you so much to our listeners, Q Code, UTA, everyone who believes in us. Special shout out to all the people who don't believe in us, because fair enough. And
stay mad.
Stay mad. See you guys next year.
Bye.
In This Week in Tech category, the nominees are 3 Techie Banter, Canceled for Maintenance, MBIT, Behind the Scenes of Business Success, Nerd Journey, Career Advice for the Technology Professional, On Tech and Vision with Dr. Carl Roberts, Razor Wire, The Two-Way Radio Show, Thomas Bravo, Behind the Deal, and Woman in STEM podcasts. And the winner in the tech category goes to Women in STEM podcast. Congratulations.
Wow, what an incredible honor. I would first off like to thank everybody that has been supporting me on my journey and who has been following the Women in STEM podcast from the beginning. I'd like to thank all of my listeners who keep on listening on a weekly basis. I'm very passionate about women in STEM and encouraging them to get into science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I'm really passionate about amplifying the voices of women in STEM. And one of the women who has been very critical in my life has been my mother. And I would really like to thank her for always encouraging me to seek my aspiration and to seek my goals. And I look forward to moving forward with my podcast and to getting more guests, to covering more inspirational topics, to giving you guys all great episodes. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you've learned something new, and I hope I continue to inspire you. Thank you.
Next up is the True Crime category. The nominees are 48 Hours and Postmortem After Show, And That's Why We Drink, Expired, Grits with a Side of Murder, Inspired by a True Story, Mr. Ballin Podcast, Strange, Dark, and Mysterious Stories, Small Town Dicks, True Crime Daily, the podcast, Unspeakable, a true crime podcast by Kelly Jennings, and Very Scary People. And the winner in the true crime category goes to And That's Why We Drink. Congratulations.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much. We are very honored that we have been recognized for our true crime efforts, mainly Christine. I love that I won an award that Christine 100% took control of.
I love it. You have to make the jokes and banter during some of the most horrifying crimes. So, try to lighten the mood a little bit. So, Em, you're as much a part of this award. I'm going to share it with you. I'll cut it in half.
Thank you. I'm so glad I'll have half of an award for making true crime funny. Oh, great. I can't wait. I'm so happy. But anyway, thank you so much, Christine, for all you do so that way I can have an award. And thank you, everyone, for voting for us.
Yeah, we're so grateful in all seriousness. And thanks for everyone who has supported us over the years and for making this happen. It feels so validating. We love you all, and we'll see you on the podcast.
Next up is a TV and film category with the nominees 80s TV Ladies, Bachelor Happy Hour, Based on a True Story, Bravo Outsider, HBO Succession podcast, HBO's The Last of Us podcast, Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, The Hollywood Outsider, The Rainy Day Horror Show, and $2 late fee. And the winner in the TV and film category goes to 80s TV Ladies. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, we are so thrilled and delighted to win for Best TV and Film Podcast for the second year in a row.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Podcast Awards, and thank you everybody who voted for us and all of our listeners and to our small but mighty team, and thank you so much. I'm thrilled.
And thank you, I'm sorry, but thank you so much to our amazing guests too, who help make the podcast what it is.
80s TV Ladies.
The next category is the best podcast listening platform. The nominees are Amazon Podcast, Apple Podcast, Blueberry Podcast Directory, Overcast Podcast App, Phenomenal Disabilities with Tree Low, Pocket Cast Podcast App, Spotify, and Wondery. And for 2024, the winner of the best podcast listening platform goes to Spotify. Congratulations. In our next category, for the best Black hosted podcast, our nominees are Two Nerds in a Pod, a video game podcast, Apocalyptic Education, Black Men Win, From a Full Cup, Indisputable, Nightcap, Oprah's Super Soul, The Shenanigans, Tomfoolery, and Debauchery Podcast, The Loud Crew, and We Need to Talk Now. And the winner of the best Black hosted podcast goes to Two Nerds in a Pod, a video game podcast. Congratulations.
Hey, Mac, we have won Best Black Hosted Podcast for the second time, which feels very, very rewarding. Thank you so much to everyone who has ever tuned in to Two Nerds in a Pod, a video game podcast, allowing us to continue talking about one of our favorite hobbies every single week. Quick story. We started this podcast several years ago in a basement. We called it Man Cave TV, never recorded it, never just did it live on Twitch. So those are lost in the internet, but we evolved into Two Nerds in a Pod. It allows us to kick it every week, and we're super grateful for that. Mac, anything you want to say to the people?
It's an honor to be here, and I'm just delighted to have an excuse to hang out with my bestie every week, even though we're thousands of miles apart now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much to our spouses who support us doing this every single week. And just as a reminder, video games are art. Be excellent to each other, and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks so much, everybody. Love you.
Next up is the best Asian hosted podcast. Your nominees are Check Your Head, Mental Help for Musicians, How I Built My Small Business, Masala Podcast, The Diverse Bookshelf, and Your Brand Amplified. If you know Asian podcasters, encourage them next year to participate in the Podcast Awards. Your winner in the best Asian hosted podcast goes to Check Your Head, Mental Help for Musicians. Congratulations.
Wow, I am thrilled and honored to have won Best Asian Hosted Podcast for this year's Podcast Awards. This recognition for the Check Your Head podcast has gone beyond my wildest dreams, and is dedicated to my Chinese father, Ming Chun Fong, and my Japanese mother, Cheriko H. Fong. Thank you for always believing and supporting my dreams. I started the Check Your Head Mental Health for Musicians podcast with one intention: to improve and possibly even save lives for those with mood disorders and addictions by providing solutions. We honor musicians like Chester Bennington of Linkin Park, Prince, Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighters, and others who have lost their lives to these issues, but also honor those like Linda Ronstadt, Seether, Amos Lee, who have shared their stories, found their solutions, and continue to live better lives alongside their mood disorders or addictions. A big thank you to all the incredible musicians and experts on the podcast. I thank my producer, Kat Jensen, and my partners at Sweet Relief Musicians Fund and DBSA. But my super thanks goes to the listeners of the Check Your Head podcast. You rock, and we love you. So be brave, ask for help, and be persistent in finding the mental help that you need. Thank you again for this prestigious podcast award.
Next up is Best Podcast Hosted in Spanish. And I apologize in advance, I do not speak Spanish. The nominees are El Flow Segunda Temporado, Elemento, Histografía Mexicana, Pulso y Pendulo. And the winner in the Best Podcast Hosted in Spanish goes to El Flow Segunda Temporado. Congratulations.
Hey everybody, this is Álvaro Céspedes, producer of El Flow. I am so excited to see that we won the category for Best Podcast Hosted in Spanish. Big shout out to our partners, iHeart's My Cultura Podcast Network, and thank you to all the team of amazing writers, producers, executive producers, our host Lilia Luciano, and sound designers at AHA Podcasts. Thank you everybody.
As we get into these last two categories, or last three categories, I just want to take just a moment and say that the Best Female and Best Male category are the most hotly contested categories in the podcast awards, with the, of course, with the exception of the People's Choice. That said, everyone to date that has been nominated, the 300-some shows that have been nominated, just making it to the nomination list is a huge, huge, huge honor. And I really want everyone to understand that the value, the real pure value is the discovery those shows are going to get really for the next year. And of course, our winners, congratulations to all the winners thus far. But these next two categories seem to be the hottest contested, the most number of applications. We definitely appreciate the willingness for shows to participate. And the voting margins on these are always very narrow. If I look at the top 25 nominees in each category, the separation on voting is, often 1, 2s, 3s, 5s, 10s. It's really, really close. So the top 10 that in each of these categories, almost equal in regard of number of listener nominees. There obviously can only be one true winner in each category, but I just wanted to share that. And that runs the same almost throughout the entire podcast awards process. The separation between first and second is always very close. We never reveal those separation in numbers, but I rest assured it's always close. 20,500 people participated, 20,000 listeners, 500 podcasters participated in the final voting pool. So that gives you an idea of the 5.1 million that participated in the nomination pool, how this got narrowed down, and we make sure that at least 50% of the 20,000 people that vote will nominate or at least vote for at least 3 to 4 shows. So that gives you an idea of what we see. And if we don't see that number come in, we add people. Luckily, this year, everyone was very aggressive in voting. But anyway, you've heard enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and get back and announce these next two categories, and I'll be back for a second before we announce People's Choice. For the Best Female Hosted Podcast, the nominees are 80s TV Ladies, A Witch, a Mystic, and a Feminist, Attacking Third, a CBS Sports Women's Soccer Podcast, Baby Mama's No Drama, Baby, This is Kiki Palmer, Let's Get Haunted, A Mom's Night Out, Should Have Listened to My Mother, Think Loud Crew, Unspeakable, a true crime podcast by Kelly Jennings. And the winner and the Best Female Hosted Podcast goes to Let's Get Haunted. Congratulations.
Hello, Podcast Awards. We are Nat and Allie of Let's Get Haunted Podcast, and we are so honored to accept this award for Best Female Hosted Podcast. We have been in this business for quite a while, and we have seen lots of people come and go. So we're really just happy to be here representing females on this planet.
There was a lot of competition in this category this year. Wasn't sure we were going to pull it out, but we did. we pulled out, and we'll do it again.
We want to give a special thank you to all of the Haunties who listen to this podcast. We make content for you guys. We love the inside jokes, the discourse that happens in our subreddit, DMs. You guys make it such a joy to get up and go to our computers each day.
And special thanks to UTA and Q Code, the only two organizations to ever take any interest in us besides the Podcast Awards. And special thanks to the Podcast Awards. Thank you so much for keeping your award show accessible. Thank you, and cheers. Hey, cheers.
Next up is the best male hosted podcast. The nominees are ADHD Big Brother, Based on a True Story, Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs, Club Shay Shay, El Potter de la Musica, Mr. Ballin's Medical Mysteries, The Conspiracy Podcast, The Lost Traveler Podcast, The Rainy Day Horror Show, and The Weekly Show with Jon Stewart. And the winner and the best male hosted podcast goes to Mr. Ballin's Medical Mysteries. Congratulations.
Wow, thank you all so much. Winning the People's Choice Podcast Award for Best Male Host is quite the honor. And so I have to start by saying thank you to our amazing partner, Wondery, who without them, the show literally wouldn't exist, so thank you. And then, of course, thank you to all the writers and the production team who grind to make this show exist each week. You guys are awesome, thank you. And a special shout out to my dad, Scott Allen, who is the head editor for the show, amongst other things. Thank you so much for making sure all these stories are truly incredible. They're so good. And most importantly, thank you to all the fans of The Strange, Dark, and Mysterious out there who listen each week. Again, I'm truly honored. Thank you all so much.
Next up is the People's Choice Podcast Awards. And officially, it's called the Adam Curry People's Choice Podcast Award. This category really signifies the best of the best. And the top 10 shows here all competed against all other shows. Anyone that enters and registers to participate in the Podcast Award has an equal chance of making the final 10 in the People's Choice. So of all the categories, these 10 shows that we're going to talk about surfaced to the top and had the biggest listener engagement across all of the shows. The winner of tonight, I'm just, again, the voting was very, very, very tight. But I want to honor all of these shows that got nominated. I want to thank all of you for your participation. And I'll be back after I announce the People's Choice winner for a few last words. But again, congratulations to all of the winners and, of course, the nominees as well. But let's go get back at it and let's get the last category. The Adam Curry People's Choice Podcast Award nominees are And That's Why We Drink, Baby Mama's No Drama, Command Center Podcast, Fantasy Football Today, Let's Get Haunted, Lions Led by Donkeys Podcast, Malevant, Numbers on the Board, Revenue Builders Podcast, and Unspeakable, a true crime podcast by Kelly Jennings. For the 2024 19th Annual People's Choice Podcast Award winner, congratulations goes to Let's Get Haunted. Sincerely, a super congratulations to the team and the gals at Let's Get Haunted.
Wow. Thank you so much to the Podcast Awards for giving us the People's Choice Award. That is our favorite one out of all of the categories every year because People's Choice is decided by the people.
We really think of ourselves as the People's Podcast. We are people. And there are people that listen to this podcast. So it's really important to us to be represented by other people and to represent people.
I really couldn't have said it better myself. We are Nat and Allie of Let's Get Haunted podcast. So honored to be here on Earth representing people in front of the Galactic Federation, in front of everyone. And we just hope that we really take the baton that has been handed to us and continue to be people.
We want to give a special thanks to the Haunties who listen to our podcast and our Lord and Savior Bingus, who gets us through those long nights and early mornings. Absolutely flabbergasted at the amount of love that we've received tonight. Thank you, or today. May the light of Bingus shine upon you for 1 million years.
Again, congratulations to all. And I'll be honest with you, I think the ladies did pretty good tonight. Fellas, you got to step up the game a little bit, because I think if we look through all of the winners tonight, the ladies, I think the ladies took the majority of the wins. So again, congratulations to the ladies. Hey, before you go, don't forget the 20th annual People's Choice Podcast Awards registration will open in early February. If you're not signed up for the newsletter on the website, make sure you do that now for the podcasters so you can stay informed of the schedule. I'm looking forward to the 20th annual, 20 years. Imagine that, honoring podcasters. Not very many people can say that. And I'm proud of the team that have supported me in doing this. This is, again, a way for us to recognize podcasters globally. And one of the things, the key to remember here is, number one, listeners make the nomination happen. Listeners vote for shows. And the engagement from podcast hosts to get listeners to nominate the shows. And then in the final round, when we've had the slate and we go into the final voting period, listeners and a number of podcasters vote for the final slate. It's always an incredible process to watch how it all falls out. And it's been my pleasure tonight to bring you the Podcast Awards. Again, my name is Todd Cochran. You can find me on all the social media networks. Of course, we have a Facebook page and a page on X. Make sure you follow those, where we share information. And again, sign up for the newsletter. All that information can be found at podcastawards.com. Everyone take care. And for those of you that have just went through the horrible hurricane that came through the country, thoughts to you, and I hope that your families are safe and that you have a quick recovery. But to everyone else, thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is Todd Cochran. We'll see you next year on the 20th Annual People's Choice Podcast Awards. Take care. Bye-bye.